Good morning, everybody. Namaste, Assalamu
Morning.
alaikum, Sat Sri Akal, Jai Shalom, Salam, Jai Jinendra, Hamzor Hamashabat. These are the various greetings of different religions. Welcome, everyone. My name is Mike Gauss, and I'm the founder and president of the Center for Pluralism, a non-profit organization committed to build a cohesive America where everyone feels secure about his race, religion, or ethnicity. I'm one of the hosts for this monthly event. So, what is this event about? It is, oops. So, it is about encouraging those who have the initiative to run for the office, any public office. If you are passionate to see in America the way that values human rights and safeguards everyone's way of life, then now is the right time to make it happen. Center for Pluralism and Virginia Muslim Political Committee have partnered to co-host this monthly event to help you motivate as well as help you file run for public office that you choose to run for and find donors and volunteers for your campaigns. Now we are sharing some of these links, and Alia, let's get started. Go ahead and start with the program.
Thank you so much, Dr. Goose, and thank you
Alia, we
everyone.
can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Alia, we can't hear you.
I can hear her.
Yeah, I'm not on mute. You should be able to hear me.
Now we can hear you.
We can hear you.
All right, great. Thank you. So I just shared the links for the organization so folks can explore them when they have a chance. Welcome, everyone. We have an exciting program planned for you today. I've already shared today's agenda in the chat so everyone knows who the guest speakers are and what to expect. My name is Alia Khan, and I'm your co-host for today's workshop along with Dr. Mike Goose. I am from Virginia, and by profession, I'm a certified practitioner in the areas of process, project, and change management. And by passion, I am an activist and advocate for policies that center around human rights, equity, and justice for all. I was Bernice state delegate both in 2016 and 2020 for the POTUS primaries. And because Bernice said, we cannot go back to business as usual, I recently founded Virginia Political Cooperative, sharing a link to a document in the chat window so we can explore more about this initiative later. So just give me 1 second and I'm gonna share that. I think we have more people joining us too. So here, I have shared a document in the chat. Whenever you guys get a chance, later you can take a look at it. So let's start the program today. I am very honored to introduce our first guest, which is Junaid Ahmed. He's running for US Congress from Illinois. Junaid is a small business owner and has been actively involved in community service throughout his life. That includes working with youth and social services organizations. He has an MBA from the University of Chicago, Booth School of Business, and started his undergrad at the City College of Chicago before transferring to DePaul University. Junaid is married to Shireen, and they have 4 wonderful children who attend local public schools. I'm very pleased and delighted that Junaid is here with us today. And now, without any further ado, I give you Junaid. Please join me giving him a warm welcome. Junaid, the floor is yours. Please, in your opening remarks, if you could cover what inspired you to run and why you chose to run for the particular position that you are running for. Thanks, and take it away.
Thank you, Alia. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone. I am honored to be part of this group here. I appreciate the opportunity. Um, you asked me why are we, what inspired me to run, right? I'm running in Congress, from Illinois District 8. I'm running because I believe that in the richest country in the world, everyone should have greater opportunity in life instead of just getting by. And it is very unfortunate if you look around, you see people, majority of the people who are struggling to get by. I was in an airplane of several years ago, 6, 7 years ago, and someone who he never told me who he was, but I think he was somewhere higher ups in the federal agency. But one thing, and we because it was a 18, 17-hour flight, and he was a good guy, and we kept talking for hours and hours. And one of the things he kind of showed to me on a piece of paper, how about 80, 90% of the population of this country lives paycheck to paycheck and about 6 to 7 months away from being homeless. And these are people like you and I. These are rich people, right? This is majority of the country. But that's not the reason. I'm just setting the stage for you. That's not the reason I chose to run, but that was like eye awakening for me. 2016, 2020, I was part of Bernie campaign, a foot soldier, knocking doors, helping out. I never held a position. Prior to running for this office, I don't think I ever held a position in any. I'm the kind of guy you would find me in the parking lot directing traffic. After working Monday through Friday, running a large corporation, I needed time to do community service. So for decades, I've been spending my weekends in soup kitchens. I've been spending my weekends in relief organizations. I'm part of many relief organizations. I serve in different roles. But when Bernie started talking in 2015, I was kind of skeptical of how things are going, right? And um, that's when I kind of started researching. And my background is in finance. My background is in economics. I am a small business. I own the company. I've created jobs. So I had to figure out as to how can we not do this in a nation, a son of an immigrant himself. How can we possibly not do this nationwide when we can have these opportunities? Oh, by the way, Alia, before I go too far, what's my time here? Because I don't want to overstay the time. How many minutes do
So
I have?
you do have like a couple of more minutes, like maybe three
Okay, all
more
right.
minutes, and then Mike and I will ask you a question.
Okay. And did you say 15 or a couple?
No, probably 3 to 4 more minutes.
Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah.
much because I can go for 4 hours or 4 minutes. So I'll stay at three. All right. Thank you. So now I'm gonna shorten the story here, right? So going back 2015, 2016, I kind of was sold at some point that yes, we need Medicare for all. Yes, we need college for all. Yes, we need the Green New Deal. Climate change is not a hoax. I kind of did my own research before we got to that point. But now, fast forward to 2020, same thing. Bernie came, Bernie went. Bernie came, Bernie went twice. That's when we kind of put our heads together as to, hey, what we could do about it. We have we have a very high support from mass populations, the general population. But when it comes to the machinery, we're being brushed aside as if there isn't, there is no support. And that's when we had to spend a lot of time trying to understand how do we make this positive impact. And that's when we realized until we have those strong tentacles, there is nothing that is going to change in this entire political landscape. And when you look around you, there are too many people who are uninsured. Students are drowning in debt. Myself, I've made my wife's final payment. We got 4 kids, mind you. My wife's final student loan debt payment closer to end of last year. That sucks. My own student loan was years and years into it. And this is where, we decided that look, people in this country deserve a Medicare for all, college for all, and a Green New Deal. The working people of this district deserve a representative who will actually fight for them. The challenger, the incumbent, you know, if you look at those two profiles, it's going to have to be starkly different. The challenger takes hundreds of thousands of money from individuals. Like I have not taken. I've already raised 220,000 in the last 3 to 4 weeks, and we have taken $0 from PACs. 100% of the money that I received, the campaign have received, has been from individuals. Whereas the incumbent, our current representative, have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from special interest PACs, and we're here to change that. I'm not going to be beholden to any major PACs. We're going to be holding to the people. And what inspired me to run, in a short one-word answer, is Bernie Sanders. I read his book 3 times. When he ended his book as to what needs to change, that's when I realized that, look, I don't need to be a politician. People ask me, and people have asked me multiple times, and I've memorized the response to it. How come you're running? What kind of political positions have you held before? I said the fundamental problem is in that question. You're expecting that I have to grow through the ranks, get the blessings of the machinery before I can actually represent you. That means I am not representing you. It is a career for me. I said, my career is my business. My career are my clients. My career is what gets a paycheck to my house. My representation is not going to be my career. That's when I decided it's time to run. That's here we are to make a positive change in the District 8 in Illinois, in this nation, and make this world a better place. Thank you.
That is a very good point that you made at the end, Junaid. My question to you is, why you? Why should people vote for you?
No, very, very good question. Why Junaid? And as a matter of fact, I was kind of, pushed into this role because when we decided after, I talked about 2016, 2020, when we were looking for good candidates to run, what we had, was I myself was not even in my mind thinking that I'm going to be a candidate because I can barely spell politics. 7, 8 months ago, and I can barely spell politics today. That has not changed much, right? I'm trying to learn as we go, but I'm not a politician. Why me? We started looking for candidates across the district, not for this position, for local positions. I'm very proud to say that we placed six to one of the largest cities, not the one of the largest city in this district is Elgin. And we placed 6 progressive candidates in that district, and 5 of them won, or progressives I'm talking about. The other Democrats who ran the machinery ones were decimated by the Republicans. Okay, so just setting the stage for that answer. We started looking out for candidates to challenge the incumbent here because he has not been standing up for common people. And let me tell you what happened there. We were not able to find one quote unquote politician. Keep in mind, a year ago when we started the search, we wanted to find someone who was going to be good at challenging the incumbent here. And not one person wanted to stand up because they could not go against what the machinery asked them to do. So it's not about what is good for the district, it's about what the higher ups are going to ask you to do. So we went around, we kind of did our research. After 5 or 6 months, we came back like, hey, nobody's willing to take him on. And then the people who are willing to kind of take him on, challenge him, has no ability to raise funds and be a serious contender, which happened last election cycle. In the process, we ended up making him much more stronger. So the group came together and said, Junaid, look, we have a group of about 30, 40 people here. And we looked around, we couldn't find anybody. And we have unanimously decided that you're going to represent us. I'm like, dude, are you sure? Because I'm happy to do whatever is the right thing to do, but I really don't think, I'm a good businessman. You asked me to create a 4th company. I've created 3 companies, by the way. You asked me to create a 4th company. I'm very confident I can do it. I can create another 30, 40 jobs maybe, but politics, I'm not sure. I'm like, we got to do it. Someone's got to do it. And that's when, from my religious perspective, I'm a very spiritual person. I came back. I kind of did my own thing. I kind of slept over. I made a dua that Allah guide me in the right direction. And I've kept feeling stronger and stronger that this is the right thing to do in this district for the people of America. And I stood up and I'm doing it. And I believe that this is something, it's an obligation of every citizen. Somebody's got to take it. When I was talking to someone higher up, so I'm not going to start taking names. And when I kind of discussed why are you, I'm going to run, and he said, are you ready to be called a terrorist? Are you ready to be called an anti-Semite? That's when I kind of came back and discussed this with the family, and all of these things put together. I'm stronger as a candidate today than I was about 4 or 5 months ago, at least in my mind. Thank you.
Good point.
So much,
Alia?
Junaid. Yeah, thank you, Junaid. So mainly you're running because you would like to represent the people. You felt your opponent was not representing the people and he was taking corporate money. And I'm happy to hear that you're not taking corporate money this way, that you can really represent the people, right? They're the ones that you will answer to. So you gave us a lot of things, like, about the citizens and why you're running. The question I wanted to ask you was, I think because you're running for US Congress, folks are also going to assess your position or would want to know your position a little bit on foreign policy. So, but be quick in your answer, like a minute or so. So let me ask, how have you been affected by the US-led wars in the Middle East? And how does that inform your perspectives on foreign policy?
Look, there are two very starking things we see. Your question is primarily about Middle East, right? First of all, I'm never in favor of any war, be it in the Middle East, be it in the Far East, be it anywhere in the world. I am not, I believe, at least in the day and age that we live today, we can resolve a lot of things just by strong negotiations. We are the strongest nation on the planet. We can, at least when you're looking at Middle East and the people, the kind of countries we're dealing with, we should be able to very easily be able to bring them to the table and make them listen to what we have to say. At least the last two wars that we had in the Middle East does not make any sense. Lastly, the Saudi, the U.S. led, or however you want to say it, the what happened in Yemen, I'm completely directly against it. I think there is no reason to create that kind of a human suffering just because of, to serve a few. That's got to stop. We got to have a just, policies for the people of Palestine, for the people. I've been to Israel, I've been to Palestine, and we need to, as the strongest country in the world, we got to be a little bit less selfish there. We got to look at the human suffering. We got to have equality. We got to have, the right policies when it comes to all of that. You asked me to stay within a minute. I'll stop that. Thank you.
Well, Junaid, I'm sorry, Alia, go ahead.
So I just want to say, thank you so much, Junaid. I really appreciate your answers. And, what you're saying is use diplomacy, right? I mean, that's why we have diplomatics everywhere in all the countries. So we should really, really exhaust communication efforts first, right? Diplomatic efforts first. And think about others same way as we think about ourselves and people of our town and our country, because people around the world are also humans, right? So we have to stand up for justice and equity for all, and right. So thank you so much, appreciate it. And please tell your daughter she's amazing. I see her, watch her Twitter videos sometimes, and she's totally amazing, okay? And I hope to see you as a congressman, and your biggest supporter, Brother Bilal, also when I'm in Chicago next. So rooting for you.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
Thank you again. And now let me pass it back to Dr. Mike Goose to introduce our second guest.
Thank you, Alia. I appreciate that. One more comment I want to make about what Junaid said. If you focus on human suffering, not the politics or the government, we can resolve a lot of issues. I think your focus is in the right place, Junaid, and we appreciate that. And we got 1 more minute in your segment. We do hold an annual program called Holocaust and Genocides. And there we precisely focus on the suffering, human suffering, and not the politics of it. And we have been doing it for about 16 years now. And maybe I'll have you as a guest sometimes. Now, we are Center for Pluralism and the Virginia thing. We are a nonprofit organization. The program is about political pluralism. We bring guests from both Republicans, Democrats and independent. I just want to make that clear. Now introducing Gulrez Khan. He's running for mayor of city of Lubbock, Texas. And they got a beautiful museum out there. I've been there. Gulrez considers Lubbock to be his sacred city, a hometown. And he moved to the US about 20 years ago or two decades ago. And he was now elected as the precinct chair as a national delegate to the RNC, Republican National Committee, representing Lubbock County Republican Party. Coming from a conservative and faith culture, Gulrez values Lubbockites, that's a new word, Lubbockites' view on life. He's a pro-lifer and opposes abortion. And that is one thing that has propelled him to run for the mayor of Lubbock of Texas. Few other things is road improvements, light, more traffic lights, better things, and also the police improvements on police. And he believes in East Lubbock, there is no hospital, no facility, and he wants to build a hospital on the east side. That is a good objective. Gulrez, now you have the floor is yours for about 5 minutes. Tell us what inspired you and why you want to run, and what is that you're going to achieve.
Dr. Ghosh, thank you so much for such a lovely introduction. I feel better about myself after hearing this introduction. And Alia, thanks so much. And everybody, hello again. Now, my journey with our conservative Republican movement actively started in 2016. Before that, when you come to the United States, people like me, you assume you're a Democrat. And, God had a reason to plant me in West Texas out of all the places. It's called the Bible Belt. I didn't have much idea about the Republican Party. I didn't have much idea about the conservatism. However, living here for a decade, I became friends with people of West Texas. It's predominantly a Christian area, but we have people from all other faiths as well. And a good thing about Lubbock, Texas is West Texas in general is they make you feel very welcome. You can come here and say hi to a stranger. Believe me, they'll tell you all about how their great-grandfather came from Hungary, like in 1806. Very friendly people. So that was quite encouraging. So gradually, the interest in the Republican Party developed. And I realized the Republican Party stands for our conservative values of putting family and faith first. We value life. We believe in America's free enterprise model. And I realized why we as immigrants come to the United States. So it resonated with my cultural beliefs. It resonated with my political ideology, which, gradually developed. And 2016 onward, I became actively involved. And that's when I became friends with our US Congressman, Jody Arrington, our state representatives, and other, city and regional officials as well. Now, so anyways, volunteering and being active part of Republican Party, 2019, it went to a next level when we were campaigning for Republicans federally and regionally and locally. And then finally, last year, just like Dr. Ghosh, you mentioned, it's God's way of rewarding you. When I got elected as a precinct chairman, the area where I live is precinct 27 with the Lubbock County Republican Party. And it was an honor to be elected as a national delegate. So I was scheduled to go meet President Trump and Vice President Pence last August in Florida to vote for them as a national delegate. Now, I didn't get a chance to be there in person because August 2020, the peak of COVID, was unprecedented. So they decided to do it virtually. However, I was able to vote for them as a national delegate via mail and as a citizen in November last year. Anyhow, my point of sharing all this is throughout my campaign, I was often, a lot of my Republican colleagues, they would say, Gulrez, why don't you run for Lubbock mayor? So I didn't pay much attention at that time. However, I was connected with our pro-life conservative action network movement. And culturally, religiously, we value life. Life is a sacred gift from God. So we have Planned Parenthood here, just like a lot of other cities. And I noticed that whatever they were doing was, medically and scripturally not feasible. Kids were being aborted when they had a heartbeat, and there have been allegations that kids' parts have been illegally sold as well. So that was, you can say, the last straw that broke the camel's back. So that was a primary motive behind jumping into this mayoral run. Now, I prayed about it November, December, January about it. I felt that God was telling me that I need to be a voice for the voiceless, which is the unborn baby. So since 1973, after Roe v. Wade passed, we've aborted 62 million babies. That's not right. So that was my main, like I said, inspiration to put my name in the hat. However, yes, I have other initiatives which I'd like to implement, inshallah, if I become the mayor. Like you mentioned, roads, yes. I mean, we are a pretty, predominantly rich city, but roads, wherever I go, if I have to go to friends' neighborhoods or family members, and they live in good parts of the town, even those roads are, you have potholes, they're bumpy. I mean, recently we had a freeze and we had rolling outages. At the same time, there was no provision to avoid vehicles from, slipping off of the roads. Street lights, they're not well lit street lights. I'd like to have more substations in Lubbock as possible, police substations, so that, for example, when we are driving, and let's say we see a cop car, we slow down, we respect that. So the more visibility of police will have in our neighborhoods, the less crime prone people will be. And at the same time, I want to be able to provide all the medical, not medical, law enforcement technology, which is required for any police force to stay abreast with the modern instruments, so that, I don't want them to get trained here and leave for, better pay or better facilities and in law enforcement, like say in Dallas, in bigger cities. So that's been happening a lot. So I want to prevent that. Veterans and farmers are cornerstone of our society. I need to restart the Veterans Day. I would love to in Lubbock. Work closely with our healthcare institutions. Work closely with our farming and ranching personnel. And you had mentioned East Lubbock. Yes, I mean, no matter which city council person gets on board, I have never seen East Lubbock develop. In fact, my first radio interview for this mayoral candidacy took place a couple of Fridays ago, and it happened to be in East Lubbock. I mean, it doesn't look like United States. So the best thing would be, and being in healthcare myself, I believe a hospital is required out there. Firstly, it will lead to better healthcare in that area and access to people in that area, especially. Secondly, it will be generating a lot of revenues. Thirdly, it'll create a lot of jobs. And then going back to the pro-life movement, our city council currently and the whole leadership. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I mean, for sharing your thoughts and sharing your vision and aspirations. You talked a lot about being pro-life, so I had a question for you.
Sure.
So let me ask you that. I know the family values are important to you. So keeping that in mind, like you seem so strongly against abortion because you consider yourself pro-life, and the family values are important. So please, can you share with us what are your thoughts about the loss of innocent lives by use of drones and by several ongoing genocides of Muslims, such as by China, India, and Israel?
Well, that's a great question. Well, when I say pro-life, I'm pro-life all the way through. Like I said, I'm a Republican. By the way, as you all know, let me clarify. Mayor race is a nonpartisan, but I have no shame in declaring that I'm a Republican. And I supported President Trump 2016. I supported him in 2020. I wish he was still our president. Now, he was the only president, by the way, who never engaged any war outside of the United States in any of the Middle Eastern countries. So he was the only president who supported pro-life, like being anti-abortion. And by the way, when it's elective abortion, if the mother's life is in danger, then it can be allowed. And he was anti-war, thereby not droning, our Muslim countries back home. Now, other countries, that's more of a, it can be a debate for another day. It's a lot of detail in it. And I would love to share that. But at the same time, I agree with Junaid when he said that a lot of things can be settled on the table with proper diplomatic channels, because end of the day, every war ended on a discussion table. And that's what I would support. Speaking from non-American countries who are engaging wars in other countries. But when you said China, yes, I'm totally against it, especially with the Uyghur Muslims they are doing to our minorities there under the pretext of retraining camps, which I believe the whole of Eastern culture and all the Muslim countries should stand up to, and not even try to have as less trade as possible with them.
We got about 2 more minutes. About 2 more minutes in your segment. My question to you is gun control. Would you be supporting President Biden's gun control? It is not taking away guns, but it is about regulating so people feel safe and secure wherever they are.
Well, I live in a pro Second Amendment and pro NRA town. All I can say is I support self-defense. We should have right to carry guns because self-defense is very important. And whatever legislatively, as a Republican, I can support about gun legislation, I will.
Thank you very much. Now, Alia, we'll go to our next guest, Reshma.
And Reshma is kind of a little bit in a hurry, so I wish we had introduced her before because she needs to go. So let me get on with this. I have the honor of introducing our third guest speaker, Reshma Patel. Reshma is a candidate for New York City Comptroller. She is a graduate of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and is a vice president of programming for the MIT South Asian Alumni Association. She is a public finance expert with 2 decades of experience, 8 years as financial advisor to the New York City Comptroller's office. Reshma is also an activist advocating for immigrants' justice, and she's also an artist serving on the New York City Board of Dance, helping create a more diverse dance ecosystem. She also volunteers with the League of Women Voters to promote civic engagement, teaches financial literacy, and supports survivors of domestic violence through the creation of a scholarship program for survivors. I'm very pleased and delighted that Reshma is here with us today. And without any further ado, I pass the mic over to Reshma for her opening remarks. Please join me in welcoming her. Thank you, Reshma. And please share with us what inspired you to run and why you chose the position that you are running for. Take it away.
Reshma, you have to undo the unmute.
Always. I think I would be used to this by now, but not.
Okay.
Thank you, Aaliyah, for the wonderful introduction. And it's great to hear the work that you're doing in Virginia. Very similar to a lot of work I've done here in New York. And thank you, Mike, for inviting me today, and really great to meet all of my fellow candidates. So what inspired me to run is for me, in the last 5 years, I felt that there was a reason that all of us need to participate more in our democracy and to step up and to really have our voices heard. And we need more diverse leadership to come to the table. And I have spent, starting with the 2016 election, I really became an organizer and an advocate for many different groups, and was out registering people to vote and getting them out to vote and educating them on why it is important to vote. And in that process, I realized that the next step is that you should be running for office. And one of the things that I'd always, I'd worked on campaigns before I was even old enough to vote, and had voted in every election. So I never believed that government didn't work for me. But one of the things that I realized in the organizing work I was doing was a lot of people believe that because they haven't actually been voting and they don't understand how our government works. And so we don't teach civics education in a lot of our schools anymore. And I think that's a big problem. And that's why I've been a volunteer civics education teacher, been pushing for civics education here in New York. And part of my run is to really also educate people that anybody can do this and anybody can take a step in our government. And you can't sit there and say, oh, it doesn't work, it's all corrupt, it's bad. No, we need good people to run to make an impact. And similar to what Junaid had mentioned earlier, I live in the richest city in the world, right, New York City. But this past year, with everything that's happened with COVID, it has been incredible, right? We have people who are struggling to stay in their homes. We have food lines, and that shouldn't be happening. And we need to be serving people better. And certain communities and certain people have been impacted more by this pandemic than others. And it brought to light how we haven't been investing in all our communities the same, and how there has been systemic reasons for that: lack of access to healthcare, access to good housing, access to jobs. And I'm running for New York City Comptroller because I believe that I, through that position, can help create a more equitable New York that serves many more people in this city that we have been. And my work, you mentioned the volunteer work that I've done with the League of Women Voters. I've also been board co-chair of Chaya Community Development Corporation, which serves immigrant communities in Queens. And I've also been a financial literacy teacher through another nonprofit. And that has brought me to many different parts of New York City. I live on the east side of Manhattan, which is a very different life than is lived on a lot of these other communities. And I believe I bring a unique perspective, having seen what it's like to live in these other communities, as well as the community that I live in. And I have over 20 years of experience in public finance, as Aaliyah mentioned. And I think that we need more people with the technical expertise. The New York City Comptroller is a CFO of New York City and the chief auditor of New York City, and the person who's supposed to have oversight over city government and make sure the city government is held accountable. And I believe my work experience leads to that.
We have 3 more minutes for you,
Okay,
Reshma.
sure. I didn't want to go on if you have questions and stuff, but
I do have a question, Reshma. And first I want, comment. Yeah, thank you so much for what you're doing. It's really, really important work. I think motivating folks to get more engaged civically and politically. I mean, I'm surprised that I was out yesterday picking up food, and I took some flyers with me too, because I'm like, I don't miss a chance to canvass for the candidates that I believe in. So people were sitting over there and I'm talking to them, and they have no idea that in Virginia, we have really important elections coming up. And I was like, do you know who this person is? Sam Rasool. And like, who is he? I'm like, he's running for lieutenant governor statewide. We have elections coming up. You live in Virginia, right? And they're like, yes. People just don't know. So it's like, people who are activists, they have so much work cut for them. And the reason for this program is that we want to motivate working class people to run and get civically engaged. I am very impressed. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you're doing. My question is, like, people who do get motivated to run, right? The next step for them is to kind of like prepare their families. Can you share some tips with us on that? Like, what should they do? How can you prepare your family to support you? I think that's really important also for people who want to run to understand that.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you for that question, Aaliyah. And I wanted this discussion to be about other people running, because since most people listening probably aren't New York residents, and I don't want to go into all my platform policies and issues, but this is what I want to talk about. So thank you for that question. I think the most important thing to prepare for your family is that you're not going to have time for them. I mean, my parents, especially during COVID, I was calling them so many times a day, right? And now I don't have time, to call as much. And it takes away time from family, from friends. You're not going to be able to show up all the time for people, and that's actually been one of the hardest things for me, because I want to be there for the people I care about, but I have to be at a campaign event, or really, calling people for fundraising and things like that take up so much time. So you have to prepare your family that they need to be prepared for you to not be there. I think another thing for people who want to run, I highly recommend they do training. There's a New American Leaders, which trains immigrants to run for office. There is lots of other organizations. Emily's List, Our Revolution does trainings. And there's a program at Yale that's like a week-long program training people to run for office. There's something called Ignite, which trains young people in colleges to run for office. So I highly recommend that people take one of those training programs, because that will also prepare you for what you can expect personally, but all the different things you need in place for a campaign.
That's very good information. Very good information, Reshma. If you get a chance, would you mind putting that in the chat room so we can share that with other people?
Yeah.
My question to you is about raising funds.
Yeah.
I know Junaid has raised about 220,000. I don't know how he did it in such a short time, but what is about your status in fundraising, and what does it take to run for the office of Comptroller?
Well, I am very impressed by Junaid too. When you said that number in a short time frame, I was like, wow, I need to get input from you, Junaid, for that. Thank you. So, fundraising is hard. And, I always like to say that if American democracy was a startup, no one would invest in it, because it's just too hard to acquire the customer, because it takes so much to get people out to vote. And all those mailers and flyers cost a lot of money. So I've raised, I've actually fundraising deadline today for New York City, and I've raised about $110,000. And New York City has matched funding of campaigns. So we are trying to be the leader in public financing of campaigns. And for every
You got 220,000 already.
Yeah, well, no, 8 times. So if you raise any
okay.
New York City will match it by 8.
Okay.
Right. And to make it possible for people like me who don't have, rich families, or have not been elected before, to be able to run for office. But that said, you need to raise $125,000 to qualify for it. So I'm about, close, but not quite there to meet that requirement, but getting there. And after I'm done I have this another interview, then I'll be dialing for dollars again, as all the other candidates know what that's like, right? I think with fundraising, also to advice to people who want to run, make sure you have all your contacts in order, because there's a lot of people, on social media that I knew connected to Facebook or Instagram, which I didn't have their contact information for. And that's, once I started running, I had to put together. So that's advice I have, that make sure you have everybody's phone number that you've ever met in your life, because you're going to reach out to them to fundraise. And I don't know if I can answer any other questions about that.
It does. Reshma, one more. We got 3 more minutes in your segment.
Yeah.
And the question I have is for you are the first. Have you found any resistance? Anybody even mentioning that you are a non-white, or in any such direction? Did you face anything like that anywhere in any campaign? Did our own people say any? I mean, our own meaning fellow Indians. Did they say anything? Why are you running?
No, I have not heard that. And in general, people have been very supportive from the community, within the South Asian community. People have been very supportive. And, overall, in New York City government, I actually, again, ran because they say for a woman to run, you have to ask her 7 times. And so that happened with me. People asked me many, many times to run. And when I entered the race, I was the only woman to enter, be there. There were 4 men at the time. Now there's other people running, but I didn't, people push me because they want more diverse leadership in our city government. But I haven't faced the, kind of the other side where people said, oh no, you shouldn't be running because you're this ethnic group or this religion or this gender.
Reshma, we're going to finish the program at 1:30.
Yes.
And what time do you have to leave?
1:15, because I have an interview at 1.
Okay, so at about 1 o'clock, maybe you can want to say your concluding 2 minutes remarks, because you have to leave.
Okay.
2 minutes, tell why people should vote for you and why you are running.
Okay.
Go ahead now.
Oh, so I can do that now. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Right. So people should run for me because, you know, New York City right now needs leadership that it has both technical expertise, but has also been grounded in community. And I bring both to the table. I have over 20 years of experience working in public finance. I have worked directly with the Comptroller's office. And when people talk about New York City, you know, is it going to recover? What's going to happen? And or is it like the 70s when New York was at its low point and almost went bankrupt? We have to remember it wasn't because people were leaving the city or, you know, the businesses had shut down or crime was high that New York was at this brink of bankruptcy. It's because it wasn't able to access the capital markets and manage the debt. And that's the area of expertise that I bring, which I've spent my career doing. But at the same time, I serve as budget chair of my community board. I'm a vice chair of the budget committee on my community board, board co-chair of a community development corporation. All this other volunteer work I've done has brought me to many different parts of the city and understanding community needs that is unique to any other candidate. And that's why I think people should vote for me.
Good for you. Thank you. Now we'll go to our next guest, Naved Bacher. He's running for school board in Delaware. Naved is a doctor, obviously PhD. He's a systems architect, software engineer, and a community activist. He has taught in public schools and at the undergraduate and graduate levels as well. He is a member of the Christina School District Citizens Budget Oversight Committee, a team that monitors district spending. He is a board member of Teen Sharp, an organization that has provided hundreds of talented low-income and minority Delaware's high school students tutoring, college, application mentorship for acceptance to prestigious universities. He is a volunteer with Tarbiyah School, which has distributed over 2 million meals to Delaware's children and families since the start of the pandemic. Let's hear from him. Naved, the floor is yours for 5 minutes. Tell us why you are running, what inspired you, and what is, go ahead.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the platform and getting to know so many great candidates across the nation. I decided to run for this seat for a number of reasons. Christina School District here is one of the more diverse school districts. It has 39% African Americans, 22% whites. That's a total of 61%. And then there is another 39% left over, which includes number of Asians, Hispanics, and other ethnicities. And those populations have never, ever been represented on the school board. And the school loses out on the experiences and the wisdom of collective wisdom of the community because of that. Now, it is also worth mentioning, you had asked some of these questions to other candidates as well, in terms of resistance. The resistance is so much from the existing board members that there were 2 resignations last year. So when a resignation comes in after an election has already happened, a temporary person is appointed, and the temporary people who were put in, now they are running for re-election and running as incumbents. When, as a matter of fact, the term re-election is totally absurd. And if you stretch it, you can probably stretch it to call yourself an incumbent. But these people were never put on the board by the people. So what they have done is they are running as a slate. So Christina School District is divided into 7 smaller districts. So each district gets to have 1 candidate on the board for a board of 7. So these 2 incumbents are running as a slate. So I am having to run against 2 people and 1 person who is not even running against me. So they are sending out all the mailers together, asking people to vote for them as a slate. Now, I can see as a political strategy that might work. I could also go and coordinate with the opponent of the other person, in the other district. However, I feel that it is unethical for sitting board members to run their campaign in a way that makes it look like a country club. That we are not going to let you in if you're already in, or if somebody already knows you inside the club. So my focus is to go out to people and work with them directly. And fortunately or unfortunately, I hope somebody from the Georgia legislature is listening to me. Just because you make voting easier does not mean that people will come to vote. So for example, school district elections in Delaware are the easiest to vote for. You don't have to be a registered voter. You can just walk in with a letter with your name and address on it. That address should be within Christina School District, and they'll let you vote. You cannot get any easier voting system than that. And imagine, out of 124,000 registered voters, no more than 1% people vote. No more than 1,200 people come out to vote.
Really?
So yes, so normally I would not hedge my bets with the immigrant community or Hispanic community or Hindu community or Muslim community alone. However, those elections, that any one of those communities alone, can you hear me?
Yeah, now.
Okay, so any one of those communities collectively can put a candidate in, because people don't come to elect. So because the date of election is on May 11th, May 11th is, and second Tuesday of May. It is not a usually, election day. It's not a holiday. It's still a work day. So a lot of people don't come and vote. The voting starts at 7 a.m., goes all the way until 8 p.m. And some of the polling stations don't get more than 8 or 9 voters the whole day. So the staff is sitting there. There are probably more staff there to administer the election than people coming in to vote. So those are the peculiarities, in terms of understanding the constituents, understanding the data behind elections. Now, I'm a computer scientist myself. I deal with data all the time. So I think this is a moment of truth for me as well, that I have helped a lot of campaigns over the period of time in terms of supporting them with data and facts. Am I going to be able to use that, for my own campaign and actually turn this election, considering, the existing 2 candidates are running as a slate, and I don't want to run as a slate as a matter of principle. So in terms of school boards, importance of school boards, I think school boards hold such an important value and power that does not even come being even, and no disrespect to our other speaker, even as a congressman, because even as a congressman, you really do not have power to effect change. You have to have so many people, other people, you have to have the whole Congress, House and the Senate agree to it, and the president agree to it before your actions will actually make a change. However, in a school board, you actually can make decisions that change the lives of ordinary people right there and then. This school board alone controls a budget of $320 million. That's way above $250 million. That is being spent in the small little district in Delaware. And the board, those 7 people have the ultimate say in how the money gets spent. In terms of progressive actions at the school level, the school board is the final authority in making those determinations. So from that perspective, I feel, some of these positions that our communities tend to ignore, those are the positions that actually hold power to affect ordinary people's lives right there and then, without too much national level backlash or things like that. So that's why I wanted to serve on this board. As a matter of fact, you might have noticed I was turning off and on my video because right now I'm running a vaccination campaign.
Very good.
So far at the Beer School, we have already vaccinated 2,500 people. By the end of Ramadan, we would have almost 7,000 people vaccinated, without regard for who they are. As long as they are eligible, we would take them in and we would vaccinate them. So that's my strategy: going on out, meeting with people on the ground, helping them, taking care of them, and hopefully,
Naveed, we got 3 more minutes in your segment that we have assigned. My question to you is, what difference are you going to make in the school district that people should elect?
So the biggest problem in our school district, bullying is an important, as a minority majority school district. A lot of people do not even understand, a lot of immigrant communities do not even understand how the schooling system works in America. So for example, if somebody has a bullying problem, they don't know who to go to. There's a lot of focus on putting resource officers, police officers in the school buildings. When I am saying that the police officer, I am, if you can notice, I'm wearing Delaware State Police shirt. I have served as an honorary troop captain for a year. Police is the last resort. You do not want police officers in school buildings. You want mental health experts. You want counselors who can actually make a difference in the lives of thousands of these people. There has to be a focus on arts and science and these specialized programs that we unfortunately did not have a focus on. For example, pandemic started. Okay, nobody was prepared. Everybody had to improvise. But we knew back in March that this is happening. And the school year was starting in September. The school district wasn't prepared. It is still not prepared. Just a couple of weeks ago, the final lot of students received their laptops for the first time. So their whole year is gone. Now the school district is having to come up with innovative methods of credit recovery programs and different types, so that all these kids who have technically failed their courses have an opportunity before the school year ends to recover some of those credits. So I want to make sure that those innovative methods, those innovations continue to come from. I come from a background where I went to a school. Everybody would tell you here that we don't have enough resources, and I tell them that I come from a school. I did not have a chair to sit in or a classroom to sit in until 8th grade. I sat under a tree. I would take a rag of tart, the jute piece, with me in my school bag and put it on the ground and study. It didn't matter if it was sun or rain, or we would just get by with that. And look at me, where am I today, right? So 3 master's degrees, a PhD, and helping thousands of people, millions of people at this time. So immigrant communities are resourceful. If there is a problem, we'll find a way. Money alone cannot solve all problems. You can throw all the money in the world on a problem and it might still stay there. So it has to come with innovation, and the innovation would come in when new ideas, new blood, new generation has an opportunity to break into this ceiling that the country club has created at the school board levels.
Thank you, Naveed. Now, Alia and I are going to ask a series of questions for every one of you. Let me start my first question with, what have you done to reach out to different communities? Reshma, you may want to start with that.
So, it's been—
Take about a minute or minute and a half.
Sure. Well, I started this campaign, as I'm sure everyone else on this Zoom call has, during the pandemic, right? So it's been an interesting way of outreach. It's been mostly through online and reaching out to community groups and joining Zooms. And more recently, as people started to get vaccinated, it's going into different communities. I mentioned earlier how, this Friday, I went out to different parts of the city, and I visited mosques, I visited temples, I visited synagogues. I have been, to different community groups around the city and talking to them. Most of that's been virtually. A lot of groups organize forums where you come and you speak and you talk about your ideas. And that's how I've been reaching out to people. And as things have opened up, there's been events that are happening. There's been a lot of anti-Asian hate rallies, and I've gone to those to both meet with community people and talk about what we can do to come together to address this issue of crime against people in our communities, and been going to, just very small, lots of small group gatherings as well because of the COVID precautions, but trying to reach many different communities around the city, and with the focus on immigrant communities and Asian American communities, because that is where I've had the most appeal.
Thank you. Now, Junaid, the same question for you. What is your reach out work?
No, I think a lot of what Reshma already said, right? For me, I have been, so I don't think I'm doing a whole lot different even without running for office, because I was part of the interfaith here. I've been to many churches and synagogues and temples in the area. So that is not something very new for me. I'm kind of started reaching out in it with a new version to it, that, hey, actually, I'm a candidate now. And also, what another thing that we are constantly do outside the faith communities is I have always participated in Medicare for All rallies. I've participated in immigration rights, and I've participated in kind of stopping, the social injustice that's happening. So what I've done as part of this campaign is I've actually started reaching out with a different lens, that, hey, I was always here to support the cause. I'm here again to support the cause, but also I need your support now because I'm actually standing up for it. So that's one of the key things that I've been doing recently, is that reaching out back again and with a different new lens, that, hey, now I need your support as well.
Thanks. Gulrez Khan, what is your outrage since you are a Republican? I know I was a Republican once. People used to shut the doors on me. So what have you done? Gulrez?
Yes,
Is Gul-
sir. Luckily, none of the doors have been shut here on me so far. So thank God for that.
Go ahead and tell me, what is your reach out? Are we missing you, Gulrez?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I think I got disconnected for a second. Well, I've been.
So your camera is tilted, Gulrez. Yeah,
Something
that's better.
Turn off your
Yeah,
camera.
that's better.
Okay.
We were gonna
Okay.
go like this too,
So maybe somebody shut a door on me too. No, I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
Well,
Your reach out.
outreach has been, started with social media. I made my candidacy announcement not too long ago, and my fellow candidates here, they shared some brilliant ideas. I'm not as rich as Junaid or Reshman, raising 200,000, but someday I'd like to get there. So social media is one. And then secondly, I reach out to our Conservative Action Network. Although it's kind of a branches out of Republican Party, but it's nonpartisan. And through that group, we have a great outreach. And then thirdly, Dr. Goss, I reach out to you. So thank you for connecting me with CFP and your whole network. Next is the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce. We finally started having actual events, and recently we had one, Business After Hours. That's where Lubbock, being a relatively small city, most of them already knew, but it also gave me an opportunity to introduce myself to new people and to appeal for raising funds and to share my agenda. I have reached out to our Eastern community here, primarily their physicians from India and Pakistan and Bangladesh and the Middle East. My uncle is a physician in town, so through him, I'm in network with all the physician community as well. So I have reached out to most of them. And since within the United States, I can, accept individual checks from anybody. I have a huge network. I played cricket for professional cricket in India and for Dallas as well. Well, thank you. So I have a network of friends here. The weekends, normally I just reach out to them, talk to them. And then one of our Eastern doctors, he's a eye surgeon. He introduced me to one of the nonprofit presidents here in town. He's an attorney as well. And I'm going to be visiting with him next week, where I'll be invited to his next event to speak, and that will help me fundraise as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Ved, your turn. What is your reach out?
So, as you know, Delaware is a very small state. Everybody knows everybody. And personally, as a community, as a member of the Muslim community, and as an individual, we have supported and worked with a lot of um, lot of campaigns in the past. So when we had our launch event, we had a number of state senators and members of the House join in, which was incredible. Usually people don't even pay a lot of attention to school board races, and here we had so many people come in. So many of them have already sent out endorsements on their social media, on their mailing lists. From their mailing list, people have started to donate, and wherever. So different politician elected officials in our area have different strengths. So for example, for some of them, their email list is the most effective method of reaching their constituents. For some of them, their social media is more effective. So we have reached out. We're reaching out to them through this process of endorsements. I have now started another campaign technique that I'm hoping that others can also use, that not just endorsements from elected officials. I have now started to ask people, friends and business owners and community members, to just start sending out endorsements. So every day we highlight one endorsement on our social media page. So that keeps our social media page more active, and that there's activity going on. And then whoever we highlight their endorsements, so they get to share it with their friends at that time. So a lot of people,
Getting people involved in it.
Also, also from perspective of participating in different events, activities, of course, those go without saying. Participation in those is very impact. Similarly, City of Newark here, Newark, Delaware, is hosting. They have a series called Knowing Newark. So they feature different segments of Newark community. With the beginning of Ramadan, on the second night of Ramadan, we're hosting a large iftar dinner. So we have asked the City of Newark to just give us a number, tell us how many people have signed up. We will provide them free boxed meals at one of the restaurants on the main street. People can go pick those meals up from 5 to 6 p.m. and then we'll sit down with them at 7 o'clock, give them a little education, then we'll make an iftar together, and stuff like that.
Perfect.
So,
thank you very much. Alia, now it's your turn to ask some questions.
Sure. Thank you, Mike. Before I do that, I want to, I think Rashma needs to leave. She said 1:15 and it's almost 1:15. So I want to really thank her. She shared really some great tips and training resources. And I think, her and everyone had motivated a lot of people today when they watch this on YouTube. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of folks who will be motivated to run. So thank you for all. And thank you to Rashma also. If you need to drop out, Rashma, anytime, that's fine. So I wanted to come back, Naveed, to you.
I just want, sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm sorry that this got scheduled so back to back, but in any, I'm happy to share any additional information on resources for anyone running for office. So,
Perfect. We
okay.
appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Wonderful. And good luck with your interview and, your fundraising efforts, and
Thanks.
best of wishes.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Naveed, I wanted to come back to you. I'm really impressed by the passion you displayed, that you want to improve a lot of things, like you mentioned about laptops kids didn't have on time. And then you also said that they have plenty of funds, right? It's not like they don't have funds. And we live in one of the richest countries. Kids should have whatever they need, the equipment wise and everything, right, for their education. I wish the way you told us how the voting goes for school members was like the same way in Virginia, because Virginia makes it really, really difficult. Over here, only
Right.
folks who are registered with a party, they are the only ones who can vote for school board member. elections. So like not even residents, like not even other registered voters, like you have to be registered with the party as a party member, and then you can vote. So it's really difficult. So I'm glad in Delaware, at least you don't have that issue. And thank you for bringing up about the police. I was going to ask you about that, but you already kind of like mentioned that, yes, police, they don't belong in schools. So there's another kind of an issue which is very prominent in Virginia that I'd like to ask you about, which is the use of applied behavioral analysis. It's kind of known as ABA also. So that techniques, it fosters seclusion and restraint, and it has always been a big problem in Virginia. So I wanted to ask, like, where do you stand in terms of committing to listening to the autistic individuals instead of autistic title corporations that are neotypical led, such as Autism Speaks? So go ahead, thank you.
Okay, please, there's Azan going on in the background. Okay, so we have those types of problems, and it was because of those problems that the charter school movement became very important, just like anywhere else, in Delaware as well, which has created a lot of rift between the public schooling and the charter schools, because public schools feel that their children are being stolen, and then when children go to a charter school, the money goes with them. And the the public schools lose out on that. So without going into the details of, how I think public schools are doing a disservice of not focusing on their children and creating these niches where people feel that it is important for them or possible for them to have charter schools. Uh, I think that this is a very cruel method of isolating kids into these segments, that okay, you don't belong here, you go this special school, and rest of the kids are good kids, so they'll stay here. I strongly believe that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. You don't give students enough work to do, enough engagement, enough competitions. Every one of us is competitive, so you just need to find out where a kid is more competitive. And so, for example, even with the pandemic, as we are finding out that some kids are actually doing a lot better with online methods than kids in the school. A lot of autistic children who have a lot of distractions in the classroom no longer have those distractions, and they are doing so. My focus has been one of my focus has been to lobby for an online schooling option for children in Delaware, and that I think would bring in children from charter schools back to public school if that kind of option is available. Having focused areas, magnet schools, focused on arts, focused on science, focused on STEM or math, or there can be a number of uh, areas that the school district can be focused on. In terms of funding is it's a nonsense that we don't have enough funding. Okay, there is a cost of living, so they have to go to a process of um, referendums to get more funding. However, even right now, there is out of $130 billion that are going to go to schools through the stimulus package. Christina School District alone stands to receive close to $100 million. Now, and that money comes with an expiration date. What are they going to do? Can we set up our schools in a way that that those special needs students can be challenged, so those students do not even become special need? Before they become special need, there are activities that keep them engaged. If they are good in arts, there should be enough arts activities. If they're good in sports, there should be enough sports activities. If they're good in science, there should be expanded versions of science Olympiads, math Olympiads, those types of things. Keep them busy so they do not have these distractions. Also, Delaware schools are horrible in terms of national standardized tests. Our schools consistently perform about 35 on the 35th percentile, which is below national average. National average would be the 50th percentile. Um, so there are a lot of these things that schools can actually do to stop a process of creating these troubled children. It is not I don't think it is the child's fault that a child becomes a troubled child. It is our, as adults, fault that we do not keep them occupied enough that they find other ways to keep themselves engaged.
So thank you,
Thank
Naveed.
you.
I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. And what you're saying is that, yes, secluding and, uh, and restraint methodologies, they should not be used, right? They're not
They don't
very
work.
good. It's
Yeah.
better to kind of immerse them with normal, everyone, just say everyone's normal, everyone does things the same way, and not treat some people like animals. And you're trying to do this, give them a carrot, and then it's like, hey, okay, you do things like, I mean, they're not animals, right? So thank you for sharing your thoughts on that.
Again, everybody has a different skill set and different way of externalizing their
Let
talent.
them contribute the way that they can contribute, because everyone has potential, everyone is valued. Thank you. So for the rest of the candidates, I posted a question in the chat.
We have about
It's
7 minutes.
Yeah, Junaid, yeah, please just stick to 1 minute, just like maybe 30-second answer. So what are your thoughts about defunding the police, and what does defunding the police mean to you?
Defunding the police to me means money should be allocated in the proper areas for training, sensitivity training, understanding of how the use of force can be used. Defunding the police to me does not mean that you're going to take the budget away from police and we are going to be having a city without a police station. That's not what it means. It means the money is channeled in the right directions where they are trained and they are directed in a way that they execute their use of force, their way of communicating with the citizens in the proper way. That's all defunding means to me.
Gulraiz?
Yes, yeah, defunding in the sense, like I said, for my one of my initiatives for the mayoral campaign is to be able to utilize money in such a manner where I'll use our city's example, where uh, our city police, our city law enforcement has access to all the modern technology which a police force should have in order for them to continue to provide quality safety to citizens of our city, and in each city of the United States.
Alia?
Do you agree with Junaid that there are some areas that we don't need to send the police officers to, like such as someone with some sort of mental issues going on, or some domestic issues going on, that social workers, okay, can and medical staff can better handle that. So this way the police can really focus on the real safety issues. So that's all what defunding is, to use some of the money from the police budget, instead of having them go and answer the calls about domestic violence. It's best to maybe have a social worker there who can actually give them a counseling and things like that. Do you believe there's a room for that?
Is this question to me or to Jeanette?
Gulraiz.
Yes, to you. Yes, to you, Gulraiz.
Okay. Yes. Well, thank you for the question. See, the thing is, it's not there's a lot of gray area in that. I'll use an example. When we were having 2020 elections and there were some riots in some of the East Coast cities, and they were in favor of defunding the police. In that, cities, police had a lot of restrictions already. So there was a crime being committed, and somebody called the police, and the 911 said, "Hey, why don't you take care of yourself, because you're trying to defund us, so you don't need us." So in this case, what if it's debatable whether to send a social worker or not. Where in contrast to sending a police officer. I mean, we cannot put anybody's safety at risk. What if that mentally challenged person, if I'm understanding you correctly, is armed? It is dangerous. At least we'll have a backup with the law enforcement being sent there.
Well, we got 1 minute, we got 3 minutes left, and I think we can ask a closing statement. So,
right. Yeah. So I just want to say that, yes, Gulray, so you agree that, yes, maybe there can be some partnership that if there's a situation such as, domestic violence, then maybe a social worker can also accompany because, that's what the need is. And defunding doesn't mean no police, like Junaid said. Okay, defunding means just rerouting some of the budget to other organizations that can, better deal with those situations. That's all. Okay, just like you said, being pro-life, it doesn't mean that you're against abortion only, right? There's more to it. Okay, it's the same way. Defunding doesn't mean that we don't want any police. That it doesn't mean that.
thanks, Alia. I think we got 3 minutes left. We can ask each one to take 1 minute to give the closing statement. Junaid, do you want to start?
Sure. And even before I start, 5 seconds. I think I'm kind of appalled since I announced my run for office, how people kind of label you as a Democrat, as a Republican, as a socialist, or whatever, and it started bothering me. Look, I'm here to represent my people, and then all of a sudden I'm labeled as a left-wing socialist Democrat. That sucks. I like what Gudray said. That doesn't mean just because my policies may not always agree with him, that's got to change. So before I make my statement, I wanted to make it very clear that what really started bothering me, and I think I'm gonna kind of take that as one of my platform agendas, because I did not realize it was so polarized. But okay, so why should you vote for me? I'm running because I believe that in the richest country in the world, everyone should have a greater opportunity in life instead of just getting by. Too many people are uninsured. Students are growing in debt. The planet is in peril. People in this country deserve Medicare for all. Should be a basic right that everybody gets health insurance. College for all and Green New Deal. The working people of this district deserve a representative who will actually go out and fight for them. My opponent is taking hundreds of thousands of dollars of the corporate PAC money, but I'm not taking a dime from the special interest groups because I do not want to be answerable to them. Instead, we need to fight for a system that works for everyone, not just a wealthy few. And this can only be accomplished when we, the common people, come together. This is a fully grassroots funded campaign and cannot do it without your help. Together we can win and make Illinois 8th district more just. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank
you. Gulray, your turn. 1 minute closing statement.
Okay, I appreciate it. A mayoral run yes, I come from a Republican Party. At the same time, like I said before, it's a nonpartisan race, and I want to be a mayor to all our Lubbock residents, regardless of their, what political affiliation they have, what religious affiliation they have, what cultural affiliation they have. In fact, by actually jumping into this race, I'm risking my own income because I'll be taking a pay cut. So the reason I'm going in is I really care for my city. This is the only city I've lived in ever since I came to the United States. So I care for the safety of our people. I care for well-being of our people. I care for the healthcare needs of our people. And at the same time, I want to be able to work alongside all our entities, prominent entities, which works towards the betterment of the citizens, at the same time continues to generate opportunities and revenues for everybody who's at stake here. So Dr. Gauss and Alia, I really appreciate the opportunity for letting me speak up, and I wish all my fellow candidates the very best for their respective races as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Naved, it's your turn. Closing statement. Naved Bakar. The man with the flag in the background. Flowing flag. Naved?
be doing his prayer.
Oh,
So,
that's right. Azan happened. Yeah.
Right. So we are kind of a little bit over the time. So let me start kind of wrapping up. So thank you to our guest speakers, Junaid, Gulrez, Rashma. I know she had to leave early, and Naveed for sharing some great tips with our event attendees and encouraging them to run for public office, and also the ones who will be watching this later on YouTube. Once it's posted, Mike will be sharing that link with us soon. Thank you, Ankur, for joining us. And Ankur, who joined us, he's also like a prospective candidate. He's been thinking to run. So hopefully you've gained a better understanding of what it takes to run for public office, and other people watching too from our guest speakers, that you are empowered and inspired to take that step. And please remember to save the chat so everyone has the information that was being shared. Naveed, if you're back, if you would like to do your 1-minute closing remarks before we wrap up.
And Ankur, if you have, can you send your email in the chat so we can have you on as our guest if when you decide to run?
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Yes, I've been working on Ankur to, really encouraging him to run. He's getting there. He's getting there.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. And I think Naveed is in doing his namaz.
Great. Well, everyone, please stay safe and stay engaged. And until next month, we'll see you again. Thank you.
And good luck to your campaigns. Good luck to your fundraising. And we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye,
so much,
everyone.
Dr.
Have a wonderful
Asalia.
weekend.
Goodbye.
Bye.